Welcome to the Wildcast Podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios, with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Welcome into another episode of the Wildcast Podcast, your unofficial voice of all things 2025 Gilles Courteau Trophy Champions. And if the studio looks a little bit different, it's because we're outside. We figured why not do something special for the Season 8 finale of the podcast. This is brought to you by Discount Flooring Services, a division of Providence Flooring. They have a large variety of high-end and current linewoods and hardwood, ceramic vinyl, laminate flooring, luxury model tiles, and blinds for immediate purchase. And all you DIYers out there, they also offer state-of-the-art technology, give you a realistic visual of your project, located at 320 Collishaw Street in Moncton. Call them at 506-859-9909. I loved it all day. It was nice. It's windy now. As always, Fanish, and I am Adam Lund, and I'm joined by your favorite co-host here, who seems to be a little cold, Mr. YQM for a reason, Mr. Starbucks, and Mr. Newest Podcast Dad, Mr. Jeremy Boucher. How are you doing?
A little tired would be an understatement. It's
a little
been a bit of a whirlwind 72 hours, if you want to put it that way. No, had a nice baby boy on very early Monday morning, 1:53 in the morning, and anybody that knows me knows that's an ungodly hour for me. And of course,
anybody that knows me knows that that's a perfect hour. Not really.
That is Adam time.
Yeah,
and
that's Adam time.
Not for me. I'm probably 4 hours into sleep at that point, and it was. We thought it was going to be your last Friday. I went to the hospital, sent us home. We went back Saturday, got checked out, sent us home. Went back Sunday night.
How's the anxiety doing?
It was starting to get a little, you knew he was going to come eventually.
Yeah.
But he just started losing, that hope that he's never going to show up.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff. So, but no, went back Sunday night. And they basically looked at us and said, "All right, it's going to be tonight. Don't know when, but you're here for a couple days." And I was like, "All right, perfect." So, you know what? We just did some walking around and found some coffee and drank some coffee and just hung around. And things kind of, once it hit 12 o'clock, things kind of started to speed up a little bit.
Yeah.
And 1:53 a.m. on Monday morning, little Mo Bear was here, and it was something special.
Hold the phone. What happened to Hudson?
Yeah, so I knew you were going to ask about that. Honestly, when we found out the gender, whatever it was, January, it was Hudson all along.
Yeah,
and not many people knew about it. Family, special family friends like yourself and Leila and the Borns knew about it as well. And so, of course, when we went to the team celebration last Monday, they gifted us a blanket with Hudson's name on it.
Yeah.
And, Kim looks at Megan and says, "Hopefully you're not changing the name." And Megan was like, honestly, the bow talk only started about a week ago.
Yeah.
It was every time he turned around, it was somebody Megan knew was having a son named Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
And like her sister's got a nephew named Hudson, or she's got friends with a son named Hudson. Like, okay, maybe it's too popular of a name, because we were planning on Hudson Beau Boucher.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, why don't we just flip it around? Why don't we just go Beau as a first name, throw Hudson as a second name, and William, who's my middle name, named after my uncle, my mother's uncle, I believe, my cousin, and kind of put Beau Hudson William.
Yeah.
And we're like, it has a strong name to it. So that's what we stuck with. And God love the DeBorns. When we sent pictures of the baby, Kim was like, you know what, I'm going to get the same blanket done with Beau's name on it. We said, you don't have to do that, but she's
she's special. Yeah.
Special.
Yeah.
She's an incredible woman. So
yeah.
She's going to get us one that's got Beau's name on it. So we're going to have one with Hudson and Beau. So, it was, like I said, the Beau talk only started about maybe a week ago.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, as soon as I posted on Facebook, I found out Ryan Jenner has a son named Bo, and one of my Facebook friends who I haven't talked to in years also has a son named Bo. So it's at that point the papers have been signed, and you can't do much about it.
And honestly, Layla and I flip back and forth on if we want to have another one, but we're becoming ancient. So do we really want to? But then I'm like, yes, we're going to be older. Yes, it's a shock to the system when you're a certain age. But naming the baby, like 20 years ago, there wasn't that many babies out there. Haley was pretty easy, and we spelled it Hailey, which was uncommon back then. Now, that you couldn't go to a store that had the customized stuff and find Hailey. It was all Hayle or whatever. Now that name is so common spelling wise. It's like it's the hardest part is finding a name, and I don't know how families do it where they have no idea what the baby's name is, or they have no idea what the baby is going to be, and they're like, "Oh, we'll wait till he comes out or she comes out, look at it, and go, oh, you are." Yeah. I couldn't do that.
Yeah. You know what? We didn't get our Memorial Cup tattoos together, so we're going to get vasectomies together.
That sounds way more painful. Don't forget to follow us on social media to find out if that happens on Twitter.
We'll get our balls chopped off.
Moncton Wildcast, Instagram Wildcast Podcast, TikTok Wildcast Podcast, and as well here on YouTube. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button. Lets us know you like what we're doing as well. You might not miss any podcast stuff over the summer. I don't know if we're going to do it, but we might not. I was going to do a quick question, but we got a guest coming over in about 15 minutes. And we got some other stuff to talk about. So we'll save the quick question for later. So let's get into the news and notes from around the queue.
News and notes from around the queue.
All right, so we have a new playoff system. So basically this is how it works. If a team in the north finishes ahead of the team in the west, but a team with a yellow color has more points than the geographical location, they don't cross over, but they stay ahead of the team with a hyphenated name. Does that make sense to you?
Sounds about right. That's how I understood it.
That's pretty much what the Q did. I have Kevin Barrett's picture here from the email. They've announced the change of the playoff format. The first round will be played in conference, East and West, but the second round onwards will be determined by overall standings. Previously, the first two elimination rounds were played within the conference, and then they went into it. Also, the league is deciding to abolish the four divisions, West, Central, East, and Maritimes, retaining only conference rankings. So I ask, the hell is the point of doing 1 through 8 in round 1?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I was kind of surprised when they decided to go the way they did. But at the end of the day, Adam, we don't have much pull with the league. So
not yet, even though we've had Chikini on twice.
All the suggestions we like to throw out there on social media seem to go unnoticed or unresponsive. So it's interesting. It'll be, if it wasn't for the regiment, I don't think we'd be having these changes, but it's going to be different. I'll probably be asking you towards the middle of March how the heck is this going to work? Who's playing who? Because I won't be able to sort it out myself.
And that's the thing is when we got into round 3, people had no idea if we were playing Rouen or Shawinigan. This, I'm annoyed by this. This has bothered me forever that we don't have an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference championships. And I understand it for balance. I mean, this year, Rimouski and Moncton would have been a conference final. So I get it. But if we're getting rid of the divisions, there's no point in doing all this. We already, if we're getting rid of the divisions, then just go conference, go 1 through 16 like you used to do it. Because if divisions don't matter, why are we playing St. John, Halifax, Newfoundland, and Cape Breton 8 times and Charlottetown 7? The whole month of December, we play maritime teams. What's the point? I would rather have less divisional games, I guess, what do you call them, and more, Baie-Comeau, more Rimouski. And even if it has to be like Cape Breton, where they're playing half the teams this year, half the teams next year, to have a more balanced schedule. I just don't understand getting rid of the divisions. Thankfully, Moncton's the last division winner in the Maritimes division, so we get to hold that title. But I don't understand it, and it pisses me off.
I think the 116 is especially in the first round. I think it's a travel thing. The last thing you want is, Cape Breton have to go all the way to Rouyn-Noranda in the first round. I understand it'll still be in 3-2.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be flying, but I think it's all a travel thing, and I think you want rivalries in the first couple of rounds, because that's just going to get more interest into the series itself. So I was never a big fan of 1 against 16. The NHL changed it to conference matchups, and I think a bunch of the hockey leagues followed suit. So
yeah, at least we didn't do that.
Yeah, it's I don't like 1 to 16 for that reason. I like being able to a series, especially round 1, being familiar with your opponent, not having to travel 2,000 kilometers to play a couple of games. It's but apparently, according to these new rules, travel like that could start in the second round.
But there's nothing I want more than in the second round, Cape Breton against Rouyn-Noranda, Newfoundland against Val-d'Or. There's just nothing I want more than that, just to show how silly this is, and we just might as well do it in the first round. Like, just go back to what it is. Quit going back and forth. Again, we don't have pull. It doesn't matter. Win the games you're supposed to win, and it all comes out in the wash. Golden Puck Awards. We had some awards given out. Caleb Denoyer was given the top prospect for professional level. Head coach Gardner McDougall was named Coach of the Year, earning him the Ron LaPointe Trophy. Jonathan Fauchon, is it an MVP for the most valuable player to a team, or is it the most points on 2 teams? I don't know. And you go to, like, the award winners here, they go to the CHL awards. So the nominees for Player of the Year, even though it's going to be Gavin McKenna's award, is McKenna, Misa, and Jonathan Fauchon. You're trying to sell tickets. Not that it really matters. We could have McKenna, Misa, Denoyer, as your 3 nominees. And then Coach of the Year, which is the Brian Kilray, James Patrick of the Victoria Royals, UC Akos of Kitchener, and Gardner McDougall. It's pretty simple to figure out that one. Only one of those coaches won their league.
Yeah, it's true. Surprising you don't see Hunter on that list, but he's probably won it a million times already. And those are this week, I think, in Toronto, right?
Yeah, and then the top prospect award is Radim Marka from Seattle, Matthew Schaefer from Erie, and Caleb Denoyer from the Wildcats. Tough to not see Schaefer get that, being the number 1 overall. Yeah.
Stump's in there too.
Stump is in there for Sportsman of the Year. Yep. And shout out to Jacob Steinman. He's up against Max Hillebrand and Jack Parsons for Goaltender of the Year. So could see 2 of 3. I think the one that I don't think Caleb will win, and I don't think he cares, is top prospect.
Yeah, it's not every year. It's always the actual top prospect according to Central Scouting list that gets that award. So in this case, it's Matthew Schaefer. Denoyer, I don't think really, as much as he'd like the award, he's probably going there with the expectation of not winning it. But I think we can all go have the expectation that Gardner's going to win Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
I think it's if there's any of them that's a shoe-in, I think it's that one.
Yep, absolutely. Pretty slow news week with the draft and everything going on. So let's get to the Weekly Rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, and the Weekly Rewind is sponsored by Alphas Appliance Solutions. Right now, they got the Whirlpool Maytag Kitchen Suite Savings Event. When you save $150 when you purchase 2 qualifying Whirlpool kitchen or Maytag appliances, save $300 when you purchase 3. It must be made before June 25th. For those and other deals, go to appliancesolutions.ca. We'll do a quick draft review. Our guest that we're going to have join us here shortly, we'll get into more depth with him. But, I'm going to guess the theme of this draft for the Wildcats was no tariffs, as they took 5 Americans. But you look at the 24th overall pick, Mark McPhee, brother of Braden, what are the Wildcats getting in him? Are they getting a player that steps into the third line and can play right away? Are they getting a fourth liner that will take some time? Like, you obviously know these players more, and we'll get into it with our guest in a little bit, but what are we getting with this player in your opinion?
Yeah, character off the charts. Everybody knows Braden McPhee, captain of the Mooseheads, how much of a leader he was, on and off the ice, and just you hated playing against him because he had that impact. He always got in your face. He was like a little rat out there, and he just knows how to do his job and stay kind of doesn't fall off the cliff, doesn't go off the edge or anything like that. Just plays the right way. And with Mark, it's pretty much the same. Mark is, I will say, a lot more offensive than Braden McPhee. So we're getting a player who's got tremendous hands. He's quick. He's got a quick shot. Really great release, and I'm excited. It's obviously a player that being local, the coaching staff and the scouts had a chance to watch fairly often, and I'm sure they know exactly what they're getting with Mark McPhee.
And our guest just arrived, so we're going to go right to our view from the other bench.
View from the other bench.
All right, and as you see, the view from the other bench before we get going is presented by Waterworks Pools and Spas, providing Atlantic Canadians with custom in-ground pools, spas, service, supply since 1986. If you're looking for a new spa service maintenance by their trained technicians or getting your pool water from green to clear, maybe not today, give them a call at 506-859-1980 or go to 194 Killam Drive. As you can see on the screen, we've got some hardware on there. I didn't think I'd ever have the possibility to have this at my house. And we've got one of the architects of this championship team, Assistant General Manager Rick Melanson. Welcome to the outdoor studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And that's a good looking, that's the best looking friend you can have. May 19th, game 6, 72 hours of Memorial Cup, 96 hours the draft. You had a chance to breathe?
It's been a couple of crazy
48 hours, you're here.
Just kind of taking care of stuff that I haven't done in 2.5 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So just in the office now. But yeah, no, it's been somebody asked me that the other day for Rimouski. That was got days off.
Yeah.
Obviously got to do
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you know what? There's a couple of times that I was like, geez, myself and I was like, are you kidding me? This is a dream.
Yeah.
This is a dream to be involved in everything this year and be around the team and to be in the tournament.
Rimouski's obviously not a place that it's a place you're familiar with. Obviously, congratulations on 30 drafts.
Thank you.
Wow, that was quite the accomplishment.
It kind of surprised me. Actually, because I wasn't paying attention to it now, and then all of a sudden I just kind of heard my name. I looked up and was like, huh? Yeah, well, thank you.
Wow, that's quite deep. But no, we're obviously we're here to talk about the draft. Just kind of go over things, how the trade period, the newest Wildcats, how everything went over the weekend.
Yeah, no, it was great. We went into the weekend with the picks. After trades, we had some of the trades that we get done before the weekend.
Yeah.
Picks and all that. People were asking, well, why did they make that trade, or why did they make this trade, and all that, and some of them again were conditional that we needed to get a certain pick or a certain.
I just wish the league would put conditional on picks at the trade, so people know that there is or there isn't conditions on it. No.
Things that I think there's things that I'll say it, but the league doesn't want to know sometimes.
Fair enough.
Because they just want like the final product.
Yeah.
What's the final product going to be? And then it's kind of
yeah.
Anyway, so no, Taylor worked hard to get the picks that we needed and all that, and again, we kind of started on Friday night. Knew we weren't going to sweep Friday night unless something major happened. We did come on Friday night. Then Saturday came in that, and then again had a chance to, the first pick had a chance to kind of drop down a little bit and get some more assets. So we went down 4 spots. And, a couple of other assets for next year. So we thought that was a no-brainer. We felt that the guy that we wanted all around we hoped anyway. We were confident that Mark and Pete was still going to be there at 24. I guess he was there at 20. I saw who was picking from. Chance on it a little bit. It's kind of good. Another guy that we really liked at that spot is 24. I'll say we were debating between Jackson at that point, but Jackson was in the conversation before. As he continued to kind of drop a little bit, so fantastic.
When you talk about being 20% for making some noise on Saturday or Friday, I guess, all the fans want trades. I even tweeted out, like, we want trades because there wasn't a lot of drama in the draft. But as it gets going, you're like, okay, if there's something there, eyes and ears always open is what you and Taylor say, and that's how you build. But you see Chicoutimi give up what they gave up to Quebec to come back into the first round. At that point, does everybody look at the table and go, we're done, guys. We're not here till Saturday. Well, that's a lot to give up.
Exactly, yeah, and it was. And obviously, they didn't want to give up. They didn't want to pick. They didn't want to pick up the pick, and then they just kept coming at them. So, okay, we'll give you this. Now we'll give them this. And eventually, you say, okay, fine. That's the
at some point,
that I was looking for,
and
that was what they'd be like that. Who was it? I think it was Cape Breton that moved up into they picked in a move with Chicoutimi.
14.
Or they top down. That's fair value. That's fair value for a trade like that. But in a team that was they just kept saying the picks and all that. I was like, wow, okay, they really wanted that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you look at it and you look at the player that you're going to pick up, and I guess you decide, okay, look, is it worth it? Like, is it worth it to get this guy if this is really? So yeah, so that's so again, yes, some of them were a little crazy, but at the same time for us, and like I said, we had talks with a couple of teams, whatever, that if there was a certain guy that we wanted that was there,
right.
I kind of dropped off a little bit, wasn't there, and was like, okay, we're not going to go crazy.
So it's not like teams are scared to trade with you guys because you're so good at this, right? I mean, for Karchek for a 3, a second, and a 4, like that's a win compared to what we thought was going to be there, or even the Halifax deal. Like, I haven't seen a trade that you guys have lost yet.
Well, I mean, look, we try to be fair with the trades.
Yeah.
Okay? Like that's obviously what we want trades that benefit one way and a player the other way, type deal like that. With the Karchek one, that was obviously a player that wasn't going to backwards, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not as if they were going to change his mind and all that. So, and it wasn't a big market for him either. Like, there wasn't a lot of teams knocking on their door, right? We were probably giving the ones that were willing to give them anything. So then at that time, the advantage a little bit and all that. Again, but you want to make it fair because, down the road, she might be on the other foot, or you're going to have to make a trade with another team. Right? So we don't want to, you don't want to go too far with the trades, but at the same time, if you can, you do want the advantage of the trade.
Yeah.
So, but again, you don't know how it's going to come to be. Obviously, in your eyes, for the same.
Yeah.
Great player and great creator. That's well worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we walked up the steps, Adam and I were just talking about Mark McPhee and just how obviously being local. Did it make the decision so much easier to know he was your guy, being able to watch him so often?
I mean, obviously, the more that you get a chance to watch the players, the more comfortable you feel with that. Really like Mark's second half of the year when steps to the plan. And that was for me to kind of flip it a little bit. Not to say it was disappointed with the first half, but we thought we could have been a little bit better. A bit more consistent in the first half of the year. It was almost like after the Ice Jam. Really strong end of the year. Yeah, certainly. I mean, look, I mean, if you see the kid more often, you know, you're going to see some good things, a lot of better stuff. You might see some more bad stuff as well too, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so it's you know, it kind of depends, right? So, but no, he was a kid that we hoped we thought was going to be gone by 20. We thought that might be gone by 20, but you know, you really only kind of needed 2 or 3 guys off the board, you know, to kind of drop him down a little bit. You know, surprises for us. So, you know, so we didn't have them there. So obviously that moves him up, you know, the ladder a little bit. Yeah. And of course, being a local boy as well too, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. You know, I mean, we didn't draft him because he was a local boy. He didn't come up and get him. That's certainly a bonus for us.
So draft 2 of the JGS era. Before you got here, I said there was no tariffs on the draft, so we were able to take 5 Americans. How much more do you guys know now compared to last year in terms of feel comfortable to take 5 Americans? I know one of them was Chudzinski's teammate. So just how much more aware of that or comfortable are you with that and taking the 5 Americans?
Well, I mean, I think the difference, obviously, in the draft this year versus last year is the instant.
Yeah.
You know, what we didn't have back in June. It was going to happen that quickly. We may have taken more last year. Like,
Yeah.
You know, we may have swung for the fences a little bit more in 12, 13, 14 rounds. So we really didn't. Again, it wasn't. We felt it was too late. So obviously, yeah. So this time around, when it was time to go and all that, it's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna scour a little bit more, and we're gonna, you know, obviously it's a brand new territory, right? It's opened up a whole new group of kids that would have never thought we were anything north of the border right before them, right? You know, so these are kids that we've seen and the kids that we've talked to, and you know, they were all excited about being drafted to the Moncton Wildcats and all that. And so no, it was obviously great for them and for them.
One thing I was kind of caught me off guard was, you know, an 18-year-old being drafted, a 19-year-old being drafted. I can't remember any time that's ever happened before. I was looking at Robertson Palmer and thinking, how is he Q eligible? His parents, his family, like all these little but what made him and just so what attracted you to people to want to take those guys in the draft rather than maybe going after them the free agent route?
Well, I see what happens is that the way that it works, they have to be on the draft list to be able to do. That's number one. If they're not on the draft list, then draft.
Do they become free agents then?
And then exactly, they become free agents. So once they enter the draft, not at 15 years old, but at 16, if the kid's not on the draft list at 16, then he becomes a free agent. At the end of, I'm going to say it's mid-April or something like that, every team has the opportunity to add players to the draft. CSR maybe didn't see or CSR didn't pick up on that, you know, to give the opportunity for these kids to draft. So that's always been like.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, these were kids that were renewable before.
Yeah.
You know, so then you have teams that are free to add these kids. Then all of a sudden, when you're on the draft, it's like, oh, okay, so now we've got to take a pick. You can't take a chance. You can't take a chance of somebody picking them up because obviously somebody's put them on the draft list. So
Do you know who's put them on the draft list? Okay.
The league does, obviously, but they don't tell us who.
Yeah.
So that way, then it's kind of a guessing game a little bit for us because then we've got to look at it and say, okay, how are we going to handle this? You know, when do we think this other team might think of taking Courteau? You know, so as an example, you know, in Tony's case, you know, I think it's okay. So if somebody think they're going to be able to in there and kind of steal it, like that, because it's true. In the past, 17, 18, 19, never, because they were on the draft. They were always taken. Kids were taken 15, 16, and then signed as free agents.
Yeah.
These guys didn't get a chance to be signed as free agents. So that's kind of where that kind of comes in. So you got to be strategic a little bit, I guess, in the way that when we these kids, because we expect them, obviously, the too, but we do expect both of those guys to be in the lineup. September. That's for them to come in, and from what we've seen, they can certainly play at that level and be a good player too.
Yeah.
Contribute right from the start. So, of course, this, we'll see how they gel and how they make how they adapt to this.
And the kid from Chicago, Holyoke. I know that there was an article about redrawing the lines, so Q had a bit of advantage. How do we get him?
He's a kid from Massachusetts.
Oh.
He's a kid from Mass. Yeah. He's from Mass. He just went to Chicago.
Yeah.
So, played this year and really liked. And, he's only 15, so I would have to think that those 15-year-olds that we've taken, might be 1 or 2 years away. Like, to give them that. But our sort of philosophy, I guess, if you will, especially with the later picks, was to kind of swing for the fences. Let's take chances on these kids. We think that there's skill there. Defenseman that we think that at 18 and 19 can be really, really good.
Yeah.
So let's take a chance.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, it's we wanted to take some chances on some kids, even knowing that again, in 2 or 3 years down the road, that we may see them in rock. That's okay. That's okay. We'll be on our list. We're our property. We're going to follow them. We're going to continue to follow them and see how they develop.
Was there more of an emphasis on, I guess, when you look at drafting defensemen, going to more of the two-way route or the defensive defensemen? Look at, Jack White is not going to wow you offensively. He's just going to punish you. Same thing with Jackson and Jasmine. Is that more of a focus, more to go to the defensive defenseman side of things?
Not necessarily. We kind of want a bit of a mix. We think Jasmine might be able to be a bit more of an offensive guy. Jackson, we'll see how he develops, see how he goes. He started a little bit at the start of the year and had a really good second half of the year and all that. We like the potential. We like the potential of 6'2", right-handed shot defenseman. What he can maybe develop down the road. But we've got some fantastic. We've got between Bud Lear that works with our guys all the time, and of course Dustin Friesen works with the defenseman every day. We feel that we've got great developmental team. To help these guys, and always going to work with these guys next year. Whether they're Wildcats or not.
Yeah.
He's going to continue to follow these guys and continue to work with them. He does a lot of video work with these guys. That's in the summertime as well too. So it's in summertime and stuff. And so we feel that those guys are going to be there. And of course, everybody's got a role, and everybody's got a role. I want to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously in a draft, we kind of want to mix it up. Early on, we were kind of a little bit forward heavy, so we had to kind of the second half of the draft. All the same type of play. All kinds of play. That's what try to do with it.
Yandel is not Keith Yandel's kid, right?
His nephew.
Nephew. Okay. Yeah. I had a couple people ask me. I'm like, I don't think it's Keith Yandel's kid, but
Keith's brother Brian.
Okay. Yeah.
40 pounds or so.
It's crazy. 30 pounds. Yeah.
We get to see what we have because he hasn't visited our facility. Obviously, he can tell him about the Wildcat in general.
Yeah. And Moncton, yeah.
So no, those are kids that again that will go in and facility until we buy. I can go back to the team for.
We always say this, we can help with recruiting too. Like we're advocates of this team, but we talk about this trophy and winning this thing again and again and again. And something that struck me during the Memorial Cup media days was Gardner said, we want to build a program like London. And that's winning championships. And even in your down years, contending to win championships. and I don't think it's lip service, and I've said this to him and other people. Caleb, Taylor, yourself, Gardner, do not strike me as the burn it to the ground, let's start from zero. They want to continue to compete. So you look at next year, you've got Chudzinski, we brought in Weiner. You're getting to the Euro draft, just plus the NCAA guys that we may or may not lose. What do we look like? Is it a competitive camp? How do we feel in continuing to build a program like, obviously, the standard in the London Knights? Yeah, allegedly, yeah. That's what I hear, yeah. Yeah.
Look, it all starts with the top.
Yeah.
Like, like serving does not like to be built, does not like to be at the bottom of the standings, and that's not acceptable in his eyes. Obviously now makes it a little bit easier because it's opened up a whole new group of kids, with Americans, right? And whether they come to us or come in the league, then that opens up. Let's say if you got a good American that goes to Halifax or St. John or Baie-Comeau or wherever they're going. Yeah. That'll
yeah.
So again, once you've opened up that population a little bit, it might take 2 or 3 years to get get really good sense of what it's going to look like down the road and all that. Coaching stuff that we have, all of that every year. Gardner and Austin and Tony and Doug and Kelsey was a skills guy. Like, I mean, there's just in terms of that. So we feel that we can be competitive every year and all that. It's kind of where the real competition a little bit is too. Let's redraw the USA lines a little bit. Why is our lines on?
So what is our line?
Our line is
that's it? We don't even get the Carolinas or nothing?
We have no Carolinas. We have no Carolinas. No.
So does the OHL go the rest of it?
I'm going to say it's east of the Mississippi all the way down, including Michigan and Florida and Georgia.
But still,
they've got it. They've got that whole territory. And then anything, I think it's west of Mississippi is the West. It's the Western.
It's almost unfair.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, let's redraw these things.
Exactly. So that's what I know that we would like to see happen.
Mr. McKenzie.
There's a lot of teams that would like to see that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so whether you redraw or whatever, and again, let's just we understand there's teams in New York, so you may not get New York. Okay, that's fine. But there's no team in New Jersey. There's no team in California. There's no team, there's no team going down.
Yeah.
Players coming we can't get. The only way we can get them is after the 17th year. So their 17th year, so after 2 years, just put them out on the list. If there's a team in Ontario that has them on the list, okay. So that's what we're trying to change. That's what we would like to see happen. Okay, just to increase the population to allow more players to come and play in our league. So
when you say we, you mean the Q, not just Moncton, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll say that.
Yeah. yeah.
Because again, I mean, if there's more than Q, then it makes it better for
everyone. Yeah.
Looking ahead, import draft coming up next month. Is there an organizational need, more of a focus with the first pick?
No, I mean, I think we're going with 2 and 1, whether it's 2 players and a D or 42 Ds. Most of them others, I'll say the crap shoots, but generally speaking, you never guarantee that the guy that you want is going to be there, even though you may think that he's going to be there for you, and if somebody ahead of you that takes him, you can't do anything about it. So no, we're going to look at all the options, and Taylor again is on that. So with some contacts and connections that he has and all that, and teams, and I don't want to say I can guarantee that like, oh, we're gonna do him. But we want to bring in some good hockey players. But obviously the two that we had this past year were fantastic. They played key and important roles in the team. That's what we want the chance to be able to. And we think that we're going to be able to.
How much of a change is that as opposed to really narrowing it? Like 2, I imagine is really difficult, but that third, does it give you flexibility to add a maybe after, like take a guy and then he might show up after, or just how does that affect things?
Again, I mean, I think it's what you think that you might be able to get. Good players are out there.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that want to come here and want to play in the NHL one day, and they know that this is the way for them to get there. The kids that are happy to play in the NHL. Swiss, German, Slovak, Czechs, Finns, Swedes, whatever. They're happy to be in their country, and they're saying, you know what, I'm going to play the rest of the my life. I got to go. It doesn't interest me, and I'm not interested in NHL. But for some kids, it is. You know that, and you know that. Hey, let's get North America because they will be seeing more people. That's just the fact. So they know that, okay, if we get to North America, then it's going to be, it's like, yeah, you know what? Folks are going to see me, whether I'm drafted or not. Okay, and if I am drafted already, let's say if I'm NHL drafted, obviously that NHL team would like to see them somewhere in the CHL or maybe USHL as well too, but now the CHL now is is going to continue to be the spot for those guys. So I think for us, it's good for us. I know there's some teams sometimes that struggle to get Europeans. I think that for us, I think we can do a pretty good job with those guys. And again, it's all about development. It's all about development. To have a get drafted in the 6th round and then have him sign it was October, November, or something like that when he signed it. After seeing him a month and with us for a month and a half, 2 months, and it's like, yeah, we got to sign this guy like that. We really didn't have to. We didn't have to. We could have waited. But it's like, no, this kid is good. We got to get that. So again, they see that the NHL team see what we have to offer these kids in development. Things like that. I just thought that we want to put this.
We saw that in the playoffs with Gilles Smith, right? Signs with Utah during a more tough tournament. What more can you have?
Angers him that Lavoie signed first and he goes off on the playoffs, right? We don't know if that's true, but it sure looked like the other guy got signed first. Let me put some pucks on the net.
No. They continue to improve all year, and yeah, people tell me it's like 16, and that, and we kind of see glimpses of it, but the skating wasn't great, and whatever, and all that, and they go stronger.
Yeah.
They go stronger, and then we always had the smarts, and we always had the skill, and we always keep the back, and we just have to get bigger and stronger, and obviously Utah has been extremely happy with them, obviously, and that, and it was a no-brainer for them to sign. And again, they didn't have to sign for next year.
Yeah.
Could have waited. Had it for 2 years. Gotta get this guy done right now, and that's
How much is a relief to you guys knowing that he signed, so there's zero him coming to you and going, I think I want to go NCAA. Like, how much of that, and even with Caleb, that a team puts a contract in him when he's picked in the top 10, how much of that just takes the burden off? Okay, we're not going to lose this guy, we're not going to lose that guy. How much does that ease, or is that just out of your mind? I saw something Erie development camp YouTube, and they talked about we're here to develop, whether that's developing for the NCAA, developing for the next level. How much does that ease your mind in terms of knowing a guy will be back?
Well, obviously, we want to keep a good balance.
I would hope.
Yeah. Because we feel that we can continue to develop these kids.
Yeah.
We can continue, like Dave here at 19, his development isn't going to stop. Okay? Caleb at 18, his development next year isn't going to stop. Okay? So yeah, I mean, obviously it takes that out of the the NCAA out of the picture, obviously, for sure. But yes, it's nice. It's great to have that. It's great for but for us, honestly, we're happy for you. That's good. Agreed to get signed. Like we put the work and yes, what we have to offer him, development and then facility and coaches and all that. Yeah, that's big. But he's putting time.
Yeah.
So, Caleb will be the role. that's more of a reward for them. Yeah, I know what you mean when you say that it's it's a bit of eases the worry a little bit on our part, but at the same time, we're happy to.
Awesome. Yeah.
Fun.
All right. So what's your summer now? Do you actually get a rest, or do you got to do detective work to find a Euro that has a mother that lived in P? so we can have like 6 Euros, but only count for 3? Or just good thing it's only us. Good thing it's only the 3 of us. Yeah. No. What's your summer like? Is it getting ready for the Euro?
We'll hopefully take, I mean, look. We're going to start with whether it's ice time and who's coming to camp, who's not coming to camp, right? What kind of going? Somebody told me they were asking me today, so stop hockey now? Well, I was like, no, never really stopped. Just slow down a little bit.
You can take a vacation?
Hopefully we're going to get, I'll take 2 days. Hopefully I can get my golf game going a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, and that, but yeah, we'll take a little bit of time, but in the rink pretty much every day. I always got the phone with me, I always got the laptop open, so that's just
I feel like your guys' vacations are like mine. When I want to go somewhere, I'm like, what sport are we going to watch? Your wife's like, what rink do you want to go see? What kid do you want to go see?
Exactly. We can combine both.
Hey, yeah. And when you get the hardware, it makes it all worth it. Perfect, Rick. Really appreciate taking the time and bringing your friend here. It was an unbelievable year, and for us, everything you did, man, it was fantastic.
Thank you guys as well too for listening. You another voice to another voice that we have for the Wildcats, and people know who you are and know about your channel and know about the podcast and everything else and all that. Again, appreciate all your time as well too. I know you guys. So
yeah.
So again, we appreciate everything.
Thank you. Things I never thought would happen when I started this podcast. That and you being here 8 years, 39 weeks a year.
Wow, 39's not that much.
No, I mean it's a pregnancy.
You still let me have.
When you think about it, yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, you let me have the summers off, so I appreciate that.
But no, thanks to Rick for that. And like you said, I mean it's a very interesting off season in terms of what we have left over that usually teams move on from, right?
No, there's I think we expected some movement, some of those 05s, those 20-year-olds to be traded in the draft, and I think I was surprised, when none were done.
Yeah, Tristan Langlois was the only one. I mean, he's not 20, but Collard was the only one.
Collard and Langlois, and I really like the return for Collard.
Yeah,
but there's a boatload of guys that unfortunately won't be back on the team next year. You kind of wish there'd be a change. I'm not sure what the Maritime Hockey League is, but I think it's like 5 or 7 20-year-olds that you can play with. Like that would be ideal, but I don't think we're going to see that change in a couple of months. So, there's going to be some bodies that won't be back next season, and but if you look at it, the bodies that don't come back, they're going to have some value.
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity here to build up the cupboards and just get some more draft capital to maybe make a splash and take a run at Blainville.
Either make a splash at the deadline, or, I mean, when you're moving assets out, maybe get an 18-year-old that nobody's really like a Courteau style deal that kind of analytically is a guy that fits into the roster and can make some noise, and see what we do at the trade deadline. And if not, there's a tournament coming to the queue in 3 years, so you kind of want to build towards that. I know Melanson, I think, had the tweet where there's going to be some changes. No idea what they'd be. I hope it's never the USHL. I saw
there's talk of much if I read this, but 8 teams in the Memorial Cup, and they play 2 games a day. So there's more teams participating, 2 games a day, just a bigger round robin, more competition. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be. And it's funny, I think I had that style. Do you remember with the Dobson year? I was like, the teams that go next year, like this year, get to go back and all this. But I think if you have 7, you're 2 finalists in each league and the host team. You have to have a host team, and you split it 2,
or you don't,
or you
go to a neutral site.
Yeah, but it's, I guess, depending on what the tickets are, but it's tough to sell to a non, like, would Moncton show up if Moncton wasn't in the Memorial Cup with Halifax and Baie-Comeau and Oshawa and Peterborough? And like, would they show up for that? Like, would city show up for that? Again, way down the line, we don't have to talk about that. We'll kind of quickly go back to our year in review. We usually like to go with the ranking the position groups. I mean, it's pretty tough to give a bad grade when we just had the trophy on our table. So it's almost like A+ for everyone, to be honest with you.
Can't disagree. It's tough to give any of the players a bad grade. It's
maybe the power play.
You got Cooper Cormier with playoff MVP. It's never thought I'd see the moment where Cooper Cormier was walking around with the playoff MVP.
That just shows the team that we had.
Yeah. When you let a guy that's been healthy scratch the lineup all season, be able to walk off the plane at the Moncton Airport, holding Caleb Dinway's playoff MVP trophy, holding it up in the air. That also, the kind of guy that Caleb is, right? Just wants to share the love and all that. But tough to find a player that doesn't deserve an A. It's there was contributions all around. I think as this season is, next season's probably a little younger. I'd like to see the fourth line get more playing time.
Yes,
especially if it's going to be a young team. The last thing you want is a player like Mark McPhee to step into the queue at 16 and just not play. Be good for his development, but he's also too good to go back to U18. Obviously the Maritime Hockey League is an option, but when you're drafted that high in the queue, you're not drafted as high in the Maritime Hockey League. He will get drafted this weekend, I'm sure, but I think I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, and the thing with him is he doesn't coming in. He wasn't a fan of always playing his fourth line, and we saw that. I think that just kind of. I mean, we only played 2 more games than London, and 3 more games than Medicine had, but they look tired. And when you're playing your top 9 for 64 games and into the playoffs, and I understand that they've set some franchise records that I don't think we'll ever see again. But yeah, you need to play that fourth line instead of just like a shift here, and if they do well, they get another shift. It just has to be kind of a rotation. Your biggest leap this season? Who was your biggest performer?
I mean, it's hard not to go with Gabe Smith, but at the same time, like I didn't expect Julius Sump to have such a massive.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Preston Lounsbury to have such a massive.
That's mine. Yeah.
And I mean, it was just Etienne Morin, kind of had a down year last year, right? Where he was playing under Dan Lacroix and just had to almost change his playing style. Whereas this season, Aaron McDougall allowed him to be Etienne Morin.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw him, do what he did in the regular season and the playoffs and the Memorial Cup. So there's a lot of guys that really stepped up their game this season. And, I know it won't happen, but it would be nice if Morin could come back for a couple games. So he
get that record.
You get the goal record for by defenseman, but like I said, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, we know someone who works for Calgary. If they could just loan him for a week. Just
loan
him for the home opener.
That's it.
Let him be in there for the building for the trophy celebration.
Rouleau, if you're hearing this, you can analytically tell the Flames that it's best he play 5 games with Moncton, but
at the home opener.
What is he, a goal or 2 short?
A goal. He tied it. He needs one goal.
One goal to break the scoring record by defenseman, but again, don't think it's going to happen. There's just a lot of guys that stepped up. There was it was a really fun year. I like short off season.
Yeah, it's funny. We always have this off season. Right after the draft, we're done for 2 months, but now the team actually is at the same part we are. But yeah, I mean, Gabe Smith's tough to not pick there. But yeah, mine is Preston Lounsbury. I mean, even at camp, I said to you, like, he looks faster. Like, he is going faster. And it's just this whole team from the DL era to what it was like, the bleakness that it looked at the end of last year, to this team with basically the same roster, a couple extra additions, and it was all pulling the same way. And they weren't down very much this season, but when they got down in games against the quad or with DL, they started to get individual. And they started to try and do too much and do this and that. When they got down in these games, they pulled together. And that was the best thing. And it was, Gardner's ability to take a guy like Caleb Denway and motivate him, a guy like Cooper Cormier, motivate him the same way he motivates him to make him feel as special as a Caleb. Simon Mullen, who played a lot of the year, didn't play a lot in the playoffs or in the Memorial Cup. A guy that, had to be ready to go. The Black Aces treated them like they were the top six and, keeping everybody going the same way for the ultimate goal. And like Caleb said, they came up 1 game and 2 days short of that. And I think that drives them. And when you look into next season, it's going to be a younger team. But like I said to Rick, Caleb and Gardner, and Taylor and him, this doesn't look like a rebuild. This isn't a Sports Earth rebuild. And I think if you're coming back as a fan, which I always, if you're there at 50-9, please be there at 9-50. We won't be that bad, but I want to see this continue to go. And Caleb said that the vibe in this city, like, carry it through the summer. I hope the Wildcats stay on the social media train, keep everybody excited. I'm excited for this year. Like, it should be a fun year.
Yeah, I don't think the forward group is going to be I'm not going to say as bad as people think. Like, there's going to be some names that people don't recognize, but your top 6 could still be right up there in the league, right? Your top 9, and possibly even your top 9. I think your D is where you might see the biggest drop off. Which is crazy to think. Like, you're talking about losing Vidicek and losing Pekarchik, and there's going to be probably a 20-year-old or 2 in that top 6 that's gone next season. And I'm here saying that we're going to be able to make up that offense. I think we can.
Yeah.
If you with the connections, like Rick said, that Taylor has, getting an NHL draft pick that wants to come to Moncton and maybe play 1 year, like Karchuk. We don't know what kind of an impact Chudzinski's going to have.
Or his line mate, right? They went out and got his line mate.
Yeah. So there's so many factors. It's probably going to be a more inexperienced top 6, but I think the impact's going to be there. Yeah. And that's what excites me the most. And there's a couple spots on D that could be opened up for maybe a Camden Jackson or a free agent. We've got Nick Cash in the system. We've got Batchild in the system.
Diamond.
You got to think these guys are specifically these young guys are going to have a crack at it. And you go and sign a free agent, and you're right there.
Yeah.
Like, I really think this team could be a top 5 team next season.
Yeah, and especially in the Western Conference, like, there is wide open. Like, it's Newfoundland and everybody in the East. Are we in the East? We're in the East. The Eastern Conference is Newfoundland, and really, that's it. Like, there's not a lot. Maybe Shawinigan. Chicoutimi.
But that's
Chicoutimi,
Charlottetown's going to be good.
Yeah.
Are they going to be as good as maybe a Moncton or a Newfoundland? I don't think so. Yeah. So I really think, if there's an Atlantic, I know there's not an Atlantic division, but I think, ourselves and Newfoundland and Chicoutimi are probably 2 teams that would be considered in the East, or the 3 teams in the East that are really a step above the East. Yeah. And Shawinigan's in the West, Plainville's in the West. We'll worry about them when the time comes. But I really think, we've got a shot here of maybe, being a top 5 team, given what's behind the bench and what we have coming back and what's potentially coming in as exciting.
Yep. And that's, the fact that Rick said, like, the coaching staff, like, we haven't heard coaching staff move on. Like, I think they're bringing the whole staff back. So it makes for a big deal. And your Euro draft, is there a beer around here?
There was. Oh, it's okay.
Your Euro draft, you don't know what you're going to get. So it's an interesting time. And if you're finishing top 5, we got a heck of a chance to be in the Final Four again. And when you're in the Final Four, anything can happen. So there's definitely an ability and a chance to make things happen this season. And I mean, that's it. That's it for season 8. What a ride.
That's a good year.
Like, what a ride for us.
Yeah, what a good year. And I think there's already some preliminary discussions about going to Cape Breton for those back-to-back games in late September. And I know Megan's all gung-ho about making the trip with us. And if she makes a trip, Avery's going to make the trip.
Yeah.
And if Avery makes a trip, Bo's going to make the trip.
And if Bo's going to make it, Kiva's going to make it.
Yeah.
And if Kiva's making it, well,
Layla's making it.
Layla's making it, yeah.
So Megan's already said, I have no interest. Oh, I shouldn't. No, that's not really how she talks.
Kind of.
She said she wouldn't go to a hockey game, but she'd be excited to see Cape Breton in the fall season. So, it'll be potentially a good
we went in the fall season. It was beautiful. It was nice weather.
Yeah.
And again, there's stuff to do for us to bring the kids around. And that's the craziest thing is 8 years ago when I started this and you and Dobson, he had twins. And now you and I both in the same year, add to the podcast family. So, yeah.
And maybe go for a vasectomy in the same year.
Maybe. We'll see. But again, massive thanks to Rick for stopping by tonight with with his friend, some hardware. A massive shout out to our sponsors who make the show happen: Alphas Appliance Solutions, Discount Flooring Center, Waterworks Pools and Spas, Integrity Lawn Care, Eric Murray of Eric Murray Realty, and Nicole Solomon of Rosemary Lynn Massage and Spa. Without them, this show doesn't continue to go. And as we just talked about, I mean, to our wives who allow us to do this show for 39 weeks a year. Mm-hmm. To yours who allow you to go on trips, to mine who spent 6 days in a hotel, family over everything, and we can't do this show without the support of our lovely ladies. So, and to you, the fans who keep coming back each week, all the engagement this season online during the Memorial Cup, we can't thank you enough. And to you, like we get a break and then we start the Hot Dad podcast.
Sorry. It's no longer the Rawcast podcast. It's the Hot Dad podcast with Hockey Talk.
Yeah. The Hot Dad podcast with Hockey Talk. But yeah, again, for Jeremy, I'm Adam. We will see you in August for training camp. You can shut it down.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcast podcast. Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.